everybody. Welcome to another episode of El Pueblo Unido. I am Ana Rocio, joined by my lovely co-host Marifer Vizcaino. And you'll notice we're missing one person of our dynamic trio today, and it's Alberto. As you can probably, if you stay tuned to our social media, which we hope you do, you probably know that Alberto is no longer working at Galeo, which means he will no longer be a part of the podcast. And that makes us really, really sad, but we are really, really happy for his future career and all the endeavors that lay ahead for him, and he'll always be part of our Galeo familia. So join us in sending him a farewell and good luck in everything he does.
Well said, Anna. We'll truly miss him. But like I say to all of our former co-hosts, this is his house. This is su casa también, and we hope to have him on in the future in any capacity.
Yes.
But Anna, I know we're going to have another action-packed episode today. So I'm just going to run through our special guests, starting with Ramses Jimenez, who used to be with us at Galeo and is now at Poder Latinx. And I believe you will be interviewing Salma Vizcaino Garcia, our newest Metro Atlanta organizer, and Latinos en Acción. I'll interview and talk to Andres about our local government section in GIL, and he is with Common Cause Georgia. And lastly, our deputy director, Elisa Covarrubias, will join us for La Pinche Política with campaign strategist Harvey Soto. So stay tuned, guys. We have a lot to talk about. It's election season. Get all the information that you need to make informed voting decisions by May 19th. We'll be back with El Pueblo Unido. Okay, and we're back with Lo que nos importa. Anna, I know late last month, the Supreme Court ruled on a very important case stemming from Louisiana. That is the Louisiana versus Calais decision, which has made waves all across the country. We're not policy analysts, but let's dive into what we understood on this decision, starting with the Supreme Court ruling that Louisiana could not make a second majority Black district. They ruled it unconstitutional based on race alone. They made it harder to prove the intent of discrimination based on race, based on these on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And we've seen since that decision a lot of conversations about what does that mean for Black voters? What does that mean for minority voters? And what does that mean for gerrymandering in the future? So what are the takeaways that you got from that, Anna?
I think I saw it as a step back. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like every year as we move forward in a year, it feels like we're going back. It feels like every time we're going back. And I and I it's so hard for me because, as you said, we're not political analysts, and I'm not the most politically savvy person. But I can see that this is detrimental for minority communities, independently of which eye you see it. You can understand that this can feel like a slap in the face for them, and
Mm-hmm.
that is my biggest takeaway from this.
Definitely. And I know the Voting Rights Act was put in place to protect minority voters, to amplify their voices. And when you say step back, it was rooted out of this civil rights movement. It came at the cost of lives, blood, and tears, and revolution for our state. So I agree. It is a step back when we're seeing it in the context of how it became, how it was established, and where it is now, where I feel it's been gutted. a lot of the provisions that were meant to protect us, even as Latinos, have been gutted. And we're seeing that the narrative has shifted from protecting minorities for racial, through racial means, to partisanship. So, we have the right saying we're going to do redistrict based off of political party, which isn't unconstitutional, isn't illegal, and we're going to see states, particularly in the South, well, in the North, it's just whatever party is has the highest power, redistrict and kind of dissolve the power of the minority party. So it is going to be very interesting to see how blue states, red states act in the future, especially at party lines to redistrict. But I do want to, I keep in mind Justice Kagan's quotes where she says, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is now but a dead letter. And I think when I read that, that was heavy on me in the decision.
And I think one of the biggest things is we have to keep informed. I listened, you shared with us here at Galeo a podcast analyzing, first discussing the decision, then analyzing what it means for minority communities. This podcast is by the New York Times.
Mhm.
And I loved how they say, this can seem at a glance like a very small thing, but it has big repercussions. And you can see how this is driving a lot of the conversations, even in GIL during our the start of the month in our making group decisions session. It was one of the examples that brought was this case, and so you can see that and I think this is a good example of how important and powerful decisions are in any of the branches, judicial, executive, and even in the lower level, local level, higher level. I think decisions affect people very very strongly. Like, we're going to be seeing this decision affecting minority communities, and we're going to be talking about the power that we have in terms of elections and voting for the people who make these decisions throughout the podcast. So I think this case is a good starting point of seeing how important it is to be voting and for those people.
Absolutely. So, as Anna said, this episode is going to focus mainly on the general elections, make sure you're getting out to vote, knowing who is on the ballot, what is on the ballot, and the rules on voting for the primaries. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back with El Pueblo Unido.
And we are back with El Pueblo Unido with a really, really special guest near and dear to our hearts. We have Ramses Jimenez, formerly of Galeo, now of Poder Latinx. Thank you so much for joining us again. You might recognize him. He used to lead La Pinche Política. And even though he left Galeo, he can't escape us that easily. So we brought him back. But for those of you who don't know Ramses, could you please introduce yourself and tell the folks now about your current job?
Hola a todos. Sorry about that. Over here smacking my computer.
Got too excited.
This is natural. Well, thank you all for welcoming back. I always love being here. La Pinche Política was dear to my heart, but y'all are amazing at this. So I'm excited to be back. I'm Ramses Jimenez. I am the Georgia State Program Coordinator for Poder Latinx. And I'm excited to be here and talk to you about the election this year.
Could you tell the folks a little bit about what your position is at Poder? What do you do at Poder Latinx specifically?
So as a state program coordinator, I basically coordinate all of the programs that we have. So from voter registration, citizenship workshops, to getting constituents to talk to their elected officials. It's just a plethora of many things. We also have our Eco Poder survey that we do quarterly. So we're always trying to gauge what the community's feeling, especially in regards to everything that's going on. And immigration is a big topic for our community, but also paying the bills. So there's many things that we do and that I have to work on. It's a rewarding job, but it's a lot. It's a lot because we're trying to fight for Georgians out here. So I love it.
Definitely. And I can only assume it's picking up with the primaries and general elections this year. So you're going to be booked and busy.
Definitely.
And speaking of the primaries, the last date of vote is May 19th. They're coming up. And there's a lot of important races on the ballot, including the PSC. We want to make sure that our listeners have the information they need so that they're prepared going into the primaries or election day. So can we start with the basics? What are the primaries? When is early voting for that? When is the last day to vote? Let's get that informational poster under to help you and our listeners as well.
Definitely. So the primaries, you're basically choosing who you want to represent you in the general election. So whether you're Democrat, Republican, you're able to choose that ballot, and then choose whoever's going to represent you for those parties. But you can also request a nonpartisan ballot, which includes like judges and things like that, where they can't be partisan. So it's a very important time, especially if you want to have that right candidate to represent you in the November election. And you can early vote from now, right now until May 15th, and it may differ whether or not you have weekends available, depending on where you live. But election day will be May 19th. But I would just suggest, just check that you're registered. You can go on mvp.sos.ga.gov. Just make sure that you're registered because there's a lot of iffy things going on with our registration system here in Georgia. So you may just not be in the rolls anymore. So just check that. It's basic information: first letter of your name, last name, your birth date, and what county you're in. And then from there, you can find your closest polling location. Because right now, when you early vote, you don't have to vote in your primary voting place. You can vote anywhere in your county. Mm-hmm. And
that's good to know.
Mm-hmm. And then, but once we get to May 19th, you actually have to vote where you've been assigned to. So that's also where this mvp.sos website helps out, so that you're able to know exactly where to go. But I would suggest going early because we have a thing about lines out here. So far, these years haven't been that bad, right? But I would just make a plan. And then the other thing is bring your ID. It can be your state ID, passport, things like that. Y para nuestra gente que a lo mejor no habla muy bien inglés, puede traer a quien sea a que le ayude a traducir ahí cuando va a votar. Y también yo sé que Galeo son muy buenos en tener a gente ahí al lado de las urnas para que les ayuden a traducir y que todo no partidista, ¿verdad? Para que les puedan ayudar con eso. Y la última cosa, last thing I would just say, as others have mentioned, just make sure you do research on the candidates, because I know for me, I've gotten to the polls and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people on the ballot. I think I have to leave and do some research because it's so many, right? And you want to make that decision that's really good for your family and not just pick the same party people as always. So yeah, I think those are my main things. Let me know if I missed anything.
No, thank you. That's important information. And yeah, you can always look up your sample ballot for all those, because it's a lot, those races. So thank you.
And I actually have two follow-up questions based on all of the very important information that you just gave us. So first is, do voters still have time to register to vote in the primaries?
No, they do not. But if they register today, they'll be sure to vote in November, but
Okay,
not for
that's
the
good to
primary.
know. That's good to know. And then, and this one is actually like a question that has always been lingering in my mind. So you mentioned that when people get to the polls, they get to choose the ballot of the party that they want to vote for. So when people register to vote for the primaries, do they have to register through a specific party, or can they just go to the polling location and decide that day what party they want to vote for?
Thank you. That's a good question. So they don't have to register with any party when they're registering to vote. But when you do go vote, especially just for the primaries, not the general election, just the primaries, you have to choose one, either Democrat, Republican, or nonpartisan. But nonpartisan won't have those candidates from Republican or Democratic ballots. So you mainly see judges and things like that. Um, and it won't contain any of the nonpartisan races, as I said. But once you do that, you're not restricted to choose that party in the general election. So you don't have to worry about that as long as you just got to vote in the primaries, right? And then
And does that mean? Oh, sorry. I had a
no,
follow-up question, but good.
but just in case there's a runoff, which most likely there will be a
Mm.
runoff. You cannot switch parties in the runoff, so you have to stay with what you chose in the primary general. Mhm.
Oh, so they keep um like a record of the ballot that you are choosing in order for you to
Yes,
vote
just
in
for
the
the
runoff.
runoff, they'll know. So you have to, go vote in that runoff. But just for all y'all listening out there, there's gonna be a runoff, so you gotta be ready. Yeah, and so June 16th will be the runoff election. So yeah, just make sure that you go out and vote that day. Most likely there will be an election.
So just to recap, uh if a person voted Democrat, they have to vote in the runoff for Democrat. And does that mean they have to vote? They can't, what if they don't want to vote on the runoff? They have to vote on the runoff?
No, they don't have to vote, but I mean,
Okay,
it'd be
okay.
great. Yeah, it'd be great if they do. No, but that's just as far as like you have to. No, 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 no.
Okay. So but they would have to vote through the party that they voted on in the primaries. Okay.
Yep,
And
exactly.
the uh, registering to vote in the primaries is already closed for this year.
Yes, but another thing, even if you don't vote in the primary, you can still go vote in the runoff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
hmm
Okay.
that's
And
quite
it's good
nice.
to know. Although we encourage everyone listening to us to vote early,
Both.
vote the primaries, vote for the runoff, vote for the general election, and if there is a runoff in the general, then vote again. It's gonna be a
Just
busy
go vote. Just go
year.
vote.
Thank you.
So, given the work that you are involved in, how does this connect to what voters will be seeing on their ballots this year?
Uh, you mean the work that Poder Latinx is doing?
Yes.
Sure. So a lot of the things that we've been seeing from the community, we go to a lot of colleges, high schools, and we talk to a lot of Latino students that are talking about affordability, but not just that, immigration as well. And these are the things that are driving the conversation at their home as well. Even though they feel like a lot of times when we talk to them, they don't know how much their parents are paying, right, for bills and things like that. But they hear them saying that bills are too high, things are going up too much, and there's people that have to decide on whether they're going to get this medicine or get the groceries, mainly because of all this energy burden that we have in Georgia. And it ties into the immigration stuff because there's a lot of people that can't go to work, or not can't go, but won't go to work because they're scared of being detained and things like that. But at least for Poder Latinx, we're going to be focusing on the PSC election this year to educate our community on how we have a high energy burden here, and how the PSC ties into our bills, our affordability here in Georgia. Our campaign is called Que Calor, or One Hot Summer. Georgia, no para. Like we're hot all the time. Not all the time, but when it gets hot, it's hot out
It's
here.
hot.
Yeah. So the thing is, once the temperature goes up, también van los biles, right? So that's the problem that we're seeing with our community. As it gets colder, bills go up too. Hot, bills go up. So we're trying to educate our community on the energy burden of their bills. We also survey the community. We do it about every quarter, and we try and get a glimpse of what voters are feeling. Not just voters, but everyday people are feeling. So for us in Georgia, what we found that the winter energy burden for Georgians was about 9.52. So that's basically saying 9.52 of my monthly income is going towards my bills, my electricity bills. So we're seeing that high. There's other states that are higher, but we've been going up for the past 5 years. Where we had the same PSC, Public Service Commission people, driving up the electricity prices for us here in Georgia. And we didn't even have an election before that for them. So that's why, it's important for us to go out there and, change these type of things so that we're able to afford more things. 32% of those respondents said that they don't understand what appears on their energy bill. So, a lot of times our people are just working, right? We're working like long days, and, a lot of times you just have that thing on automatic payment for your bills. So we're trying to educate people on that. If you go on our website, there's a lot of videos where they'll show you how to understand that bill. And then the last thing I'll tell you, 28% of our correspondents actually didn't know that there was what the Public Service Commission is or what it does. But the cool thing is that, we're educating our community now. They're learning about how voting affects their everyday bills, everyday groceries, and things like that. And so we're just trying to get more people involved and educated on that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ramses. And thank you for saying the full name. I know I said PSC, but that is the Public Service Commission. And noted on inflation, I think, what are we looking at? Over $4 gas prices per gallon. So I know the impact for everyday Georgians is strong when it comes to those economic factors. Other than the Public Service Commission, I know we have like you mentioned, a plethora of other races. I can't drive past my polling location without maybe 500,000 signs up. Some races I didn't even know were happening. So could you point out one of the what races are at stake in this year's primaries?
So I'll name a few, because even when I name a few, it will be a lot. I'm just kidding. But
yes, please. What are the most recognized ones, for example?
So, governor, right now, there's, a lot of people running for governor. So you got to keep an eye for that, because that will affect us directly here in Georgia. It's like our Georgia president kind of, right? So, and then the kind of vice president for Georgia will be lieutenant governor. And then we have U.S. Congress, U.S. Senator. A big one that I think that we should be watching out for is the Georgia Supreme Court, because there's been a lot of controversial decisions that the Georgia Supreme Court has made when they're not supposed to be even partisan, right? But we've been seeing that for years, and that's another election where they haven't had an election for a while. It was just that the governor will appoint a judge because the other one was retiring. So, it's been a while since we had a race for that. So I think it's very important that we go and vote and, do some research on them too, so that we're able to elect those judges that we need to protect our rights here in Georgia for all of us. Whether you're Latino, woman, there's so many things that are on the line for that, especially in the Georgia Supreme Court. And then the last thing I would say is local judges. Local judges affect how much how our community is seen, how they're detained, how long they're going to be in jail, whether or not we have cash bail, things like that. It affects us because a lot of times our communities are they end up at the wrong place, wrong time, and then we end up having with worse, harsher sentences than a lot of people. So, yeah, I think those are hopefully main things, and yeah, people should keep an eye out for that.
Definitely. And I just want to point out, like, super quickly that I'm in David Scott's district, rest in peace. So it's very interesting to see, like, how that's going to play out. You too? You're David Scott.
Yeah,
Okay.
same here. Yeah.
So I'm very interested in that. And then regarding the Supreme Court, after the Calais decision that Anna and I mentioned earlier in the show, we don't know how it's going. Well, we're seeing how it's going to play out, but we have a say in who our Supreme Court justices will be and how that would determine any redistricting in our state as well. So just very important that we go out to vote. So I did want to ask, and this is very targeted to Latinos, why is it important for us to vote in the primaries?
We need to vote in the primaries because these are the people that are making decisions. Right? We're telling these parties who we want to represent us in the general election. If we don't go out and tell them who we want to represent us, they're gonna choose it for us. And I don't know about y'all, but a mí me gusta tener opciones. Me gusta saber a lo que me estoy metiendo, right? So if I don't have all the info, how can I do that? But it's very important. And for the past few years, we've seen that, like the PSC election, the Latinos are paying a lot more in energy bills than other communities. So, it's very important that we go out and vote so that we can get these bills reduced. Things have been done on purpose to get these bills up. So we have to go out and vote to get these, tell them what we need. But the other thing I think it's important to vote is because, we can decide elections. And once we let them know that, we're here and we're going to tell you what we need from you, they're going to start listening. So at least for the past presidential elections, right, they've been decided by one less than 10,000 votes, another one less than 100,000 votes. When we have like 500,000 Latinos eligible to vote here, so we can literally decide on what we want from our legislators.
Yeah. To completely agree with you. That's what I want to say. But I did want to ask, how has the Latino participation been in the past elections, for example, in the November 2025 election, and how will it impact, if in any way, in the upcoming primaries?
Sure. Thank you for that. So at least in 2024, the Latino participation rate was was higher. It was 60%. Going into 2025, it goes down a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot, since it's municipal elections. I'm not sure on the data for that, but the participation rate for overall was very high compared to any other municipal race. We had at least 1.7 million people go on and vote out of the 7 million that can vote. Usually these numbers are like in the 1% participation rate, and that's not even close to that, right? And when I was actually working for GALEO, the places that we were going door knocking, we saw a big increase in 2025 compared to 2023 of voters that went out to vote. At least in one precinct, it went up by 500 voters when, before it was like maybe less than 1,000. Everywhere that we worked, the participation rate was up, and these were Latino precincts. So educated guess, Latinos came out to vote at higher proportions than in 2023, at least for the municipal elections. But, and that tells you a lot, especially because, the way that things are going with our community, with ICE and things like that, we thought that we weren't going to get that many people to open the door for us, or that they weren't even going to go out and vote. But the numbers don't lie. People went and voted. people were answering the doors. We were having great conversations about, the way that they feel. Cost of living was always the main thing. People not having jobs was the main thing. And that was another factor that drove in 2024 when we were talking to Georgia communities. It was about jobs. It was about money. And it's the same thing, and it's just worse, which is why we're seeing more people be involved in off-year races, kind of. Yeah. I think it's going to happen this year again.
I hope we do. I hope we blow it out the park. Knock it out the park. I hope it's a record.
Look at you with the baseball references, Marifer.
Oh.
Aren't the Braves up? Are they winning or something? I don't know. Something sport. Insert sports something here.
Go Sports.
Yes, go Sports. Go Atlanta Sports.
Woohoo!
But those are all the questions I have, or we have, sorry, for you today, Ramses. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on El Pueblo Unido, for being our special guest. I said it when we logged in, this is your house, es tu casa. We'd love to have you back whenever you're available.
Of course.
Come
back.
I love being here. Y'all are amazing at this. Every time I see y'all get better. So I'm rooting for y'all. Please have me back. I'll be ready.
And sorry, before we go, do you have any final thoughts? Anything we missed, or would you like to shout out anything that you're doing at Poder Latinx for our audience?
Yeah, so if you all are interested in saving some money, becoming a little more educated on what's going on with all of your energy burdens that you have, please go and check us out at poderlatinx.org, or you can also look up Eco Poder, and there you can find all of the special info for Georgia. See our energy burden that we have here, but the main thing is to be able to learn how to read those energy bills, because starting this job, I started doing that, and I was like, there's so many numbers on here, I don't know. Learning about that helps out a lot, and then you can actually have that information so that you can talk to them and maybe re-strategize that bill for them, so it can go down. But yeah, we're here. Hopefully you all check us out and follow us on social media too. But thank y'all for listening to me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and then we'll be back with El Pueblo Unido. Welcome to Ponte las Pilas. Today we will have Andres Parra, who is a former GALEO Civic Engagement Manager and Community Organizer. He is also the former Deputy Executive Director of Organizing and Training at the Georgia Youth Justice Coalition, and is now currently serving as the Senior Organizing Manager at Common Cause. Andres is also a GALEO Institute for Leadership Facilitator. You will regularly catch him leading the local government session. So I don't know if I missed any titles, but if I did, let me know. Welcome to the show, Andres.
Thank you, Marifer. Thank you for the invitation and for that quick introduction. I've had the privilege to work in a lot of different, amazing organizations and do some really great work with a lot of wonderful people. But ultimately, like all of this work, right, it's about relationships. It's about being concerned about what's happening in your community and taking action. And right, even if this wasn't right, I'm thankful, and I think this is the best way that I can sort of serve my community and get involved in the work. But right, it's always an invitation. We're building a people power movement, and that's gonna take all of us getting involved and taking action. So I always kind of wanna mention that and open that invitation as we're talking to folks and inviting them to take action and step into their communities and to this work.
Absolutely. And I've known you for years, and I know that's been your key message for as long as I've known you, and how passionate you are about everything you just mentioned. So today we're going to have a conversation a little bit more about GIL, the local government session for our listeners. So could you quickly do a recap on what the GIL local government session is? And maybe could you expand a little bit on what's the difference between, this class and a Civics 101 class, for example?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a very exciting session. I mean, the GL program is a really powerful experience, and a lot of, I've participated through the program myself, and I know like so many leaders in the state and the community that have gotten their start or have been involved and developed their leadership skills through this program. The local government session I really enjoy, and I've been really excited to help facilitate it the past couple of years. But there is a little bit of Civics 101, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with a little review sometimes, right? We all have busy lives, and especially when it comes to local government, I think that's a big gap of knowledge for a lot of folks, because you don't usually, just in your day-to-day living, don't come across that information. That it can be inaccessible, right? Especially for people in our community, in the Latino community, it can be new information. So there is a bit of that and review, and I try to make it, interactive, maybe ask questions, right? As folks remember what they've learned maybe in the past in school or in other one-on-one civics programs. But ultimately, I think what's different about the GLEL program and that session in the program is that how we apply it, right? And thinking of how can we then take that knowledge of the system that is in place, of the tools available, and really get our people involved to take action, to advocate, to organize. And what are those key points in the system where we can interject and make a real difference in the lives of our communities?
Absolutely. And you mentioned, I just want to say super quickly, we're in the same cohort year, 2021, and that's the best cohort. So if any of you guys want to apply, you'll be competing against some great alumni. Thank you for that response. I do want to ask, and you mentioned some people haven't revisited their civics class, so people are learning something new. Is there a part of the session where the participants are consistently responding strongly to a certain segment?
Absolutely. I think, I always try to incorporate, right, those conversations about, right, what is really happening, right? I mean, we have this idea, right, if you grew up with Schoolhouse Rock, a lot of people, I'm learning right after doing some youth organizing. Some young people haven't seen Schoolhouse Rock video, but look it up if you haven't seen it, right? It's a classic of how a bill becomes a law, right? And in some ways, that's sort of like the ideal way that a bill becomes a law. And it's important to know that process, right? But then we go down into, okay, how does it really happen, right, in our state capital, at the local level? Who are the actors, right, and that process and what that can look like? And I think when people really understand, right, that process, and right, it can be frustrating. Like, right, there are some undemocratic tactics that elected officials can use when they hold power to sort of change the rules or make adjustments that when people find out, can get them a feeling of like, I want to be involved because I'm not happy with what's happening. But I think another part of the session that really a lot of people engage with is when we look up their elected representatives, and I always challenge them to give them some time to look up some information about the elections for some of the local elected officials, right? And I think seeing often at the local level, right, when it's very close elections, right? In Georgia in particular, we know elections are decided by a couple of votes. And when people find out, oh man, this local elected official that I didn't know existed before this session, and now I'm learning they were elected, right, by a difference of 27 votes, of very few amount of votes, or they've run unopposed, right? And it's just someone who's been there, and really questioning that and questioning, okay, is this person who is in a position of service, who's in a position to represent me, are they doing the best job? Is this, something that I need to monitor and watch? And so I think those are the points in the session I think people are most responsive and interactive with.
Absolutely. I remember when I did that too, it's like, man, I don't know any of these people. So I agree. I think a lot of us are like, wow, I'm learning something about somewhere I live. Um, okay. And then I think we've noticed, and this happens in every community, but I think we've seen this trend happen more recently where there's political apathy. Some people are disengaged from government and local politics. What do you think is a real life effect of becoming more civically engaged and educated on our local and state government?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's, a lot of reasons why people have felt disengaged or left out of the system or unhappy with sort of the way that things are now, and there are very valid, feelings and emotions to that, right? But I think, right, in this work, as you know, right, and we do at Galeo, at Common Cause, at all these other organizations, and it's letting people know the power that they hold and how much power they have when they do get involved and they speak up and they have their voice, right? And especially in Georgia, we know, and especially when we talk about the local and state level, right? Like a couple of us making calls and showing up to a meeting can really make the difference on a specific bill, on resolutions, on things that are going to affect our day-to-day living. So I think when people become aware of the power that they hold, and we really, right, like corporations have money, right, elected officials have their official power and position, and us working people, people in our community, right, we have people power, and when we speak up, we encourage, we empower others to do the same, and right, we're all, if you're watching this, if you're involved, right, you're an advocate, you're a community, right, a resource to your people in your network, and just sharing the information and then the education that you learn through programs like GIL can be really powerful and impactful.
Thank you. And we're coming to the end of our segment. I want to ask, do you have a favorite maybe moment or activity from this session that you could just share with our audience?
I think, right, the favorite part for me in the session is interacting with the GIL members. Like, that's something that is really I think great, and I really enjoy when I participate in the program, is building community with other Latino leaders and other people in the community that are excited to learn more, to get involved, to take action, and are concerned with what's going on, and are ready to make a difference in their communities. And I think seeing that group of people engage with the activities and really come up with some really amazing ideas, it's always the most exciting part, I think.
Absolutely. And I think you haven't facilitated this year. Your session isn't up until July, but you're going to be very welcomed, and you're going to have an enthusiastic cohort welcoming you, is what I meant to say. So I look forward to that session. And then I did want to quickly let our audience know that after his session, the local government portion, we have an elected officials panel where those elected officials that we invite from state, local seats from across Georgia come visit us and talk a little bit about their experience running, and hopefully motivate our cohort members to run for office one day as well. Andres, before you go, do you have any final takeaways or thoughts about anything we discussed today?
No, I'm very excited that y'all are following up with that candidate panel, right? I mean, running is not easy, and it can be a very important, right, personal decision to take and conversation to have with yourself and your family. But it's really important that we are having these conversations, that we are, right, talking to the candidates, to our elected officials, right, because they are very accessible and they represent us. So you should kind of know them and feel confident in reaching out to them, whether it's at a town hall, giving them a call, or sending them an email, and letting them know what your concerns are. And then, right, like as we do in the activity, right, when we find out, oh, this person's running on a post in my community, maybe this is something where I can step up, and I see a need, and right, all it takes is you being willing to learn and to be responsive to your community and have that care. And then there are many amazing programs where you can learn to really run an effective campaign, and then once selected, really, stay connected and truly represent and serve your community. So I'm really excited for them that conversation with candidates and panelists. And we have very important elections happening right now, right? Early voting is happening. The May 19th primaries are for the nonpartisan elections that are going to be on the ballot. This is right our final chance to kind of vote and make our voice heard there. But it is a long ballot, so very important elections to right. Not only if you're already voting, right, you need to go and tell your family and friends about it and get them out to go vote. And making sure that that we're all turning out and we're having our voice heard in this election.
Thank you, Andres, and thank you for that reminder that we have the primaries going on until May 19th. Early voting has started, so everyone who is listening, if you've already voted, amazing. If you know someone who hasn't voted, whatever it takes for them, for you to convince them to go out and vote, because these are important elections, and there are races here that we're not going to see in November. So Andres, thank you so much for joining us. If the good people listening or watching us right now want to know more about you or Common Cause, how can they reach out or know more?
Absolutely. They can check out our website, right? If you go to commoncause.org /Georgia, or you can just select, right? We're nationwide, but you can look at Georgia specifically for the work that is happening right here in the state and how you can get involved. We have member calls every first and third Tuesday. They're 30-minute informal ways for people to learn about what's happening in their community, ways that they can get involved and take action. So you can always be a part of those conversations. We'll have one meeting actually today at 6 p.m. And you can find that link on our website for the Georgia Action Team. We also have an elections team, right? We're very concerned about our democracy and our slide into authoritarianism by the current administration. So we are doing a lot of election protection work. Our volunteers are out roving different polling sites that we think that we're concerned we're concerned there might be incidents, and they're just observing, reporting any issues. I like to uplift a very important hotline, 866 our vote, right? That is the hotline. If any voter in Georgia experiences any voting issues, you can call that hotline for assistance, and there will be people there ready to answer your questions and offer support. But you can also sign up for that elections team. We're doing that election protection work, and then we're also doing a board of election monitoring, right, to make sure that we're protecting our elections and our democracy. And people can also check our Instagram. We keep it updated. That's one of the best places to kind of see what we're up to and the different opportunities to take action and get involved. And you can just type Common Cause Georgia, and you'll see us there. And people can always reach out, right? I'm always happy to connect with folks and answer any questions or talk to them how they like to be involved. And you can reach me at my email at aparra@commoncause.org. And yeah.
And super quick, Andres, you mentioned that number, our vote. Is there a number for our Spanish-speaking voters as well?
For sure. And again, right, that number is 866 our vote, right? If you want to type it like the numbers, it's 866-687-8683. And that hotline is available from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. There's early voting, and on election day, right, it'll be open the entire day that polls are open. And then for our Spanish speakers, there is another hotline that you can call 888-VE-VOTA. So in numbers, that would be 888-839-8682. And that is also another hotline that any voter can call with any issues that they see at polling location, from polls not opening on time, turning people away that they should not be turning away, right? If you are in line by 7 p.m., you are able to vote at a location. You do need, right, like a picture ID. You can look at the Secretary of State's website for all the acceptable forms of ID to vote in Georgia. But if there have any issues, if you see ICE or any other police intimidation attempts, right, you can call that hotline for assistance and report any issues, and there'll be a volunteer there to help you.
Thank you so much, Andres. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I know this is your first time at joining us on our podcast, and I really do hope it's not the last.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite, Marifer, and to the entire Galeo team. And yeah, always happy to support and excited that we had this conversation.
Thank you. And we'll be right back with el Pueblo Unido.
Hola Georgia, las decisiones que nos afectan empiezan con el voto. Por eso es importante conocer a las personas que quieren representarnos. Antes de votar, infórmese sobre sus candidatos. ¿Qué proponen para nuestras escuelas, para el costo de los servicios, la salud y el futuro de nuestras familias? Infórmese y elija el candidato que mejor represente sus valores. Un voto informado es poder. Su voto es su voz. Visite georgiavota.com.
Welcome back to El Pueblo Unido. Thank you for joining us for this segment of Latinos en Acción. I am joined today by our new member of the Galeo family, Salma Vizcaino, who also happens to be the sister of my lovely coworker and podcast host, Marifer Vizcaino. Welcome to the podcast and to Galeo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know this is literally your first month and we threw you in to do the podcast. And, thank you for being so gracious about it. Thank you.
No, of course. I'm happy to be here. I've always seen them, obviously, because of my sister being a co-host. So I've always seen them.
What about me?
So it's exciting.
What about me? What about
obviously,
me?
too. Obviously. But
I'm a little hurt.
My obligation. But you guys do a great job, so it's fun.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll accept it because you know what? When you see her, you see me too. But it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Too fun.
Okay, so we'll get started. So Salma, for everybody in our audience who doesn't know you yet, could you please introduce yourself and what position you are holding now at Galeo?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Salma Vizcaino Garcia, and I am the new community organizer for Galeo, and I will be serving the Metro Atlanta region. So mostly that's encompassing Cobb, Gwinnett, and DeKalb counties, but I'll be everywhere since I live in a county that's not one of those three. So yes.
Where do you live?
I live in Clayton County. You can't really narrow much down from there, but
well, shout out to Clayton County. Shout out to Clayton County.
Clayco. That's right. Always South Side. Gotta rep them.
Okay, so for those that don't know, what does a community organizer do?
Sure. So a community organizer is an individual or a person who works really closely with their community to create and foster relationships, whether that be with another nonprofit, churches, local government, other individuals, really just anyone and everyone within that community, and all to serve one greater purpose.
Well, then I'm so glad we have you because this is clearly, your face is one that the community is going to be seeing from now on when you're out there putting out the Galeo name on top and everything that we do.
Yes, that's the hope.
But this is not your first time working with Galeo, right?
No, it's not. This is actually my great return to Galeo. So I worked 2 years ago and for 2 seasons, I would say, as a canvasser for Galeo. So it was during the various different elections, so county ones and state ones as well. But yeah, so I canvassed in Clayton County, but I also, when there were special elections up in Gwinnett, I also helped with those. And I loved it so much and loved the organization so much that just couldn't help but come back, but in a greater capacity. And speaking of canvassers, we're actually looking to hire some right now towards the end of the month. So if you are interested, please email me. I'm at svizcaino@galeo.org.
It feels like a full circle. You started as a canvasser and now you're looking for other canvassers.
Crazy, isn't it? I'm
It's so
basically
poetic.
hiring them. It's a full circle moment for sure.
Right?
Yes.
Well, as you heard, guys, if you are interested in being a canvasser, and I'm guessing you can speak to how great being a canvasser is for the community, and can you tell the folks, about your experience being a canvasser?
Yeah, of course. Apart from being able to clock 10K steps a day for whoever likes that, I mean, it kept me fit, so I'm not complaining about it at all. But apart from that, like I could see like a very tangible difference that we were making in the community. So a lot of registering folks to vote. Like I remember bringing in maybe like 10 plus in like one event, for example, or 20 plus. And those are like super tangible things that that you're contributing to for, again, a greater cause. So knowing that our Hispanic community and Latino community are being more educated, and knowing that they have this like civic right and duty to represent themselves, to have their voices like heard, that's super lovely. And you just get to interact with so many new and different people and have a lot of important conversations, learn what issues are important to everyone, because everyone's different. Like we're not like a monolith, the Latino community. So it's important to hear everybody's perspectives. And that's something that you can really hear as a canvasser, because it's boots on the ground, basically.
Well, if that right there doesn't motivate people to apply for the canvasser position, which is part-time, right? This is a temporary part-time position.
Correct. Yes. So it is temporary, part-time. It's almost as needed. It's leading up to the primaries, and we will continue to do more canvassing, hopefully throughout the summer, leading up into the November election as well.
Well, if that didn't motivate you to apply, I don't know what will, because you're literally hearing from firsthand experience what canvassers do. Um, so going back now to your community organizer position,
Yes.
why is this position so important for the community, especially for the Latino community that we serve?
Sure. So obviously right now, because it again is an election year with our primaries and our elections in November, it's super important to educate our community, because a lot of us don't go out to vote. Not us. I would if I could, but they don't go out to vote. They're not encouraging each other to do so. They're not educating each other. And it's a lot has to do with lack of resources. So that's a lot of the reason that we do the work that we do. We want to help educate folks on who their candidates are, where you can go to vote, when you go vote. A lot of people don't know that early voting already started, for these primaries. And then when they run into how to vote by mail, how to do an absentee ballot, all this information is also not super greatly spread in Spanish. So that's also a lot of what we are able to do. Like we translate all of our material in Spanish to reach a larger audience. And so it also, just in our culture, we can be a little hesitant, desconfiados, some would say, and with good reason. There's been a lot of issues in our past where a lot of politicians promise things to us and they don't deliver, or just anything that somebody can point to. It's also building that rapport with our people, because if you start with one person, that's a baby step or a grain of sand, it all domino effects and making a greater contribution.
And, hopefully the biggest takeaway they'll get from this episode is to go out and vote, because the interview that we had previous to yours was with Ramses Jimenez, who used to work here at GALEO, and we were talking about everything that they need to know regarding the primaries. So between that and your conversation and everything else that we have planned for the podcast, people will be very informed to go out to vote if they can. So thank you so much for the work that you do with the community.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, of course, that is hopefully the number one takeaway. Please go out to vote. Our primaries are May 19th, and early voting has already begun. So yeah.
Before I let you go, how can people get in touch with you if they want to collaborate for an event?
Yeah, so it's the easiest way is through my email. So please, I mentioned it earlier, I'll say it again. It's svizcaino@galeo.org. So yeah, if you have any kind of inquiry, question, want to introduce yourself, want to talk, I don't know, that's my email. I'm super open to collaborating and talking and meeting everyone. And feel free to do so.
That's great. I hope your inbox gets filled with people introducing themselves and more connections that you make in the community. And before we leave, I would be remiss to not say that we are hiring a community organizer. We are looking for another community organizer here at Galeo. So if you are interested in the position, please email our Deputy Director, Elisa Covarrubias, and you can also find more information about this position and canvassing positions through our website and social media. Those are the best ways to get informed about everything that we're doing. Anything else you would like to add before I let you go?
No, just thank you so much for having me. I'm sure you guys will hopefully see my face again on the podcast. Thank you so much for your work, and yeah, reach out for anything.
Thank you so much for your work. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Welcome again to Galeo. I'm so happy to be working with you. And El Pueblo Unido will be right back.
Hola, Harvey. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, of course. Well, yes, this is our Pinche Politica section, and yeah, we'd love to just hear a little bit about this voter guide that was developed. But first, if you don't mind, would you just introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, my name is Harvey Soto. I am a campaign strategist. I've been working in this political space for a number of years now, and just formerly worked with Galeo pre-pandemic, so between 2016 and 2020. So happy to be back to be here on this podcast to talk about elections that are going on right now and how you can get some information for yourself.
Great, yeah. Yes, so exactly. It's early voting. We've seen a record number turnout so far in the primaries. But sure, if you want to give us a little 411 on how people can be better informed about the elections.
Yeah, like you just said, there's elections going on right now for the primary. This is mostly to decide who gets to be nominated for their party, Democrat or Republican. This is early voting has already started and it ends on May 15th. Obviously, election day is May 19th. So please, everyone, make a plan. Speaking of that, there's this awesome tool called thegeorgiavoterguide.com. And it is a great tool that allows you to look at what's possibly on your ballot when it comes to a very important nonpartisan race that I'll mention soon. And also, it's a great place for you to check your voter registration, see where you need to go vote, or any other type of essential information like what do you need to take so you can be able to go vote, like what's a valid form of voter ID or picture ID that you need to take, or what's the closest early vote location that you can go to, or if you decide to wait on election day, where's your polling location on election day. So that information is available on there. And like I said, there is an important nonpartisan race that's going on that a lot of people don't know about, which is our Georgia State Supreme Court. And on that same website, you will find a breakdown of the candidates, what they stand for. So it gives you a little bit of like a resource, very easily attainable about the background of these candidates, why it's so important to vote for this election, and also hopefully helps you make a decision and be informed before you go to the voter, to the ballot box.
Thank you, Harvey. And I think you're right. When people are going to go vote, you kind of have to make a plan beforehand, because a lot of times I know folks will go and I'll hear from them later and say, I didn't realize we were voting on this issue or this office. And I don't think a lot of people are aware about the Supreme Court race right now and who all the candidates are. So thank you for mentioning that. What if the person isn't great with English? Is this voter guide available in Spanish as well?
Sí, está disponible en español y también en coreano. Wow.
Coreano también.
También somos muy inclusivos y este recurso también es muy inclusivo. Como puedes ver en tu pantalla, está el QR code is there. All right, let me switch back to English. So the QR code is there. And you can, at the top, it's mobile friendly, but at the top you can switch the language between English, Spanish, or Korean, and it's very available for our Spanish speakers as well. And again, like we said, it includes all the permanent voting dates for this year, as you can see in Spanish, and also for the general later on this year as well. And it also has information for for the Supreme Court justices. So this is really, really cool stuff. And of course, it makes it very easy for our Latino audiences, whether they're English dominant or Spanish dominant, to get involved and be prepared before they go vote.
I love it. Thank you. I will definitely be checking that out and getting to my polls early. Harvey, one last question. You know, this is a short segment, but before you go, can you talk a little bit about why local races are important? A lot of people go out to vote when it's a big federal election or for president, but some of these other races impact our lives too, right? Why should people pay attention to the primaries and to some of these local races?
Yeah, I think it's super important to know that what is down ballot, what is after the first couple big races that you might recognize from all the ads that you may see out and about. But these also have a huge impact on your life between, like how much you're going to be paying for insurance, or what are the different things, protections you have as a worker with the labor commissioner. And like we said, for the state Supreme Court, like, it's a nonpartisan race for someone who decides like big cases here in Georgia about whether certain laws are unconstitutional or not. And this has a huge impact on your life, whether you have some civil rights empowered or not, whether you have access to certain goods or not. This is all impacted by some of these races, and at the end of the day, they have a big impact on your wallet. Yes, Senator has great things, but for the most part, this also has a huge impact on your wallet as well. So just make sure as you get prepared, don't just stop at the top of the ticket. Go all the way down, because it is a little bit longer this time for the primary, but I promise you it's worth it to be informed and see what's on your ballot and vote your best conscience, because this all does impact your life and your wallet more than you know.
Yeah, and those dollars go quickly these days for sure. So yeah, it's important that we all check that out, make your plan, and get out and vote early so you don't have to worry about it at the last minute and be in line. Hope to see you all at the polls. Thank you so much, Harvey. Que tengas buen día.
Igualmente, muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
And welcome back for our final remarks. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of El Pueblo Unido. I hope you stayed along and learned more about voting, about GIL in our local government session, about what GALEO does, especially our community organizers, and so much more. And if you are not already following us on social media, please take the time to join us. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. So for LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, we're at GALEO.org. And then for TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, we're at I Am GALEO. Also, if you can spare a moment, we also have our sister organization, the GALEO Impact Fund. Follow us on all social media platforms at GALEO Impact Fund.
And we cannot end our episode without giving a huge thanks to all our guests. Ramses, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast. This is your home always. Thank you to Salma, and welcome to Galeo again. And thank you to Andres and Harvey. Each one of you are amazing, gave very important information that we hope all our listeners have taken away some information from it. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of El Pueblo Unido, and we'll be back next month. Bye, guys.
See you then. Bye. Oh, wait. Y recuerda,
El Pueblo Unido.
el Pueblo Unido jamás será vencido.
We'll get it right the next time.